Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Azm Aftab. I am the head of Employability, Placement and Career Advancement Department at Beaconhouse International College. Today we have with us none other than Mr. Zeeshan Shahid from National Incubation Centre Faisalabad. Zeeshan has an immense experience ranging over 15 years of incubation, innovation, entrepreneurship, and we're lucky today to have him as a guest. Welcome to the show, Zeeshan.
Thank you, Azm. Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you so much.
Acha. Zeeshan, what led you to National Incubation Centre? Tell us more about how you joined the NIC, NIC family.
Okay, so it's about 15 years long journey, and so interestingly, I had no plans of venturing into this space at any point in my student life, or even when I graduated. Not even a thought of it. So I was focused towards investment banking, finance, and I'm a graduate in MBA finance as well. Even during my graduation phase, I was interning with Stock Exchange of Pakistan with a brokerage house, and working in stocks and all, right. So I was I was all set for the investment. Yeah. So what happened was that after while I was in my MBA, and so I started doing some of the event management and some events, right. And from there on, I started doing a very short 3 months development sector project, and from there on another 1 year project. Uh, One fine day, a senior from university, a friend as well, who's now a partner and a colleague as well, right?
Right.
He called that I've joined this organization called TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, right? And why don't you come over? We discuss, and let's see if we can work together, right? And I went there the next day. I thought let's just do it, right. And when I started doing it, the kind of network that the organization had, and the kind of mandate, the mission the organization had, right, I was really impressed.
Right.
And I loved being part of that network. Loved being around the innovative ideas of startups.
So tell me more about the importance of incubation in Pakistan. Where do you see it heading? What has been the past? What is the future looking like?
So, so when we talk about the future of incubation, right, we need to know that, we need to realize that incubators and similar centers, they only started 10 years back in Pakistan.
Right. So it hasn't been too long.
It hasn't been too long. It's just a decade, right? I mean, I think the first incubator was in 2013, when, which was Plan 9 of PITB, funded by the government, right? So that was your first proper incubator.
I think under Dr. Umar Saif.
Dr. Omar Saif, yeah, he launched the first incubator, right? So it's only been 10 years, right? And in 10 years, the progress is huge, right? Now the incubators are popping. There's like about 80, 90 co-working space incubators / accelerators now in Pakistan, with a lot of startups graduating from them. And they're going to, so see, a lot of incubators, the government have planned a lot of incubators in second tier or third cities, tier cities as well. So a lot of incubators will come, a lot of new ideas will come in the next 10, 20 or 30 years in Pakistan.
And have there been any success stories that you could share with us?
From the incubators, or
Yeah,
overall?
from the basically the incubation family, like whether it's NIC, because I know you've also worked at a National Incubation Centre in Islamabad as well. So just a few success stories, if you could shed light on any.
So BIC was part of NIC Karachi, for example, right? So BIC is I took the name BIC because it's it's a household name now, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, Def Talk was from NIC Islamabad. Now, Def Talk, I don't know if you know or not, but there's this global conference which is held in Barcelona every year. It's called Mobile World Congress. Top technology leaders from all over the world attend that, right? There are like about 50,000 attendees. It's a festival of technology around the world. So for since last 2 years, when Elon Musk was speaking there, the interpretation services was being provided by a Pakistani startup, which is
Wow.
which is which
That is
is
excellent.
which is DevTalk, right?
Yeah.
So DevTalk, when the founders, they came up with a problem for the solution for the problem where they could provide digital interpretation services for deaf and mute, right? So that's their product.
Excellent.
So yeah, so yeah, these are some of the stories from NIC.
Right. And, as an educational institution, we're more and more focusing towards entrepreneurship and setting up a entrepreneurial mindset within the student body. How can, National Incubation Centre Faisalabad and educational institutions like Beaconhouse International College collaborate to do that, to give our students that mindset of, of an entrepreneur?
Well, I think there's no one way of doing it, to be honest, right? I think this is see a lot of we've seen a lot of examples, MOUs of NICs and incubators, entrepreneur centers, education institutes combining for one-off initiatives, right? I think this has to be a long-term relationship. There
Right.
has to be an integration of what NIC is doing and what an educational institute is providing to the students at this. So for example, we're talking about mindset change, right?
Right.
So the kind of services that National Incubation Center provides, the kind of mind shift change the National Incubation Center provides, this has to be imparted at the very beginning of, or if not very beginning, then maybe from the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, right? When the minds are very fresh, very raw, right? So at that point, we can provide those. Similarly, how these education centers can benefit NIC, they can create a very, very solid pipeline of entrepreneurs for these incubators for years to come, right?
Right.
So by the time they come to NIC, they will already be hatched or trained somewhat, right?
Exactly.
For NIC.
So it's not that their starting point is at, at a later stage in their life. You would rather have them start at an early age, preferably somewhere in middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, and then we move them on.
See, so by the time they graduate from these institutions, right? They must have already planned, what they want to do, and they must have already set their mind of whether they want to, maybe look for a job or they want to do their own business, right? And if they want to do their own business, right? So right now, what's happening is education institutes are preparing students mainly to go out there and get jobs,
Right.
right? And which is okay, right? Education institutes, their mandate is to produce graduates,
And
not the entrepreneurs, right? So that which is okay, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the point being that how many jobs are out there?
Yeah.
Right? So we are sitting in Faisalabad, right? There are about, good 12, 15 good educational institutes in Faisalabad, universities in Faisalabad, right? They must be producing about, 20,000 graduates in here, right? Even if you take an average of 1 to 2,000 per institute, right?
Right.
So when they're going to go out, how many jobs do you think are being produced in Faisalabad each year? Barely 2, 3, 4, 5,000. So what are the rest of these students are
competition
going?
will be
Yeah,
intense.
either they're going to go to Lahore, Karachi, or outside of Pakistan, right? Or they while they're in Faisalabad, so so we should rather focus on making them job creators from the
Rather
very
than
beginning,
job seekers.
rather than job seekers, right? And I tell you what, I think this is something, when I'm asking about how and why I came into this field, I figured that for us to achieve the economic prosperity,
Right.
this is very important, right? That we start producing job creators instead of job seekers.
Right. And so, what role do you think institutions like BIC and other education institutions can play to bridge that gap? I mean, I know we've talked about starting at an early age, but do you see any benefit in inculcating good curriculums and maybe some incubation practices within that curriculum early on to give that jump start to our students?
Yeah, of course. I think that's one way of doing it. To have a curriculum integrated into, and that it doesn't have to be one mistake that education institutes make when they start moving towards this. They they are doing a separate curriculum on this topic, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be like that. So whatever, let's say BIC is teaching right now in their curriculum, all these qualities that you need for a student to become an entrepreneur, or for skills that are required to become an entrepreneur, have to be part of each subject, right?
Exactly.
So for you, what is entrepreneurship? Is not only that you're a businessman, right? Entrepreneur is resilient, right? So you need to start building that resilience
Right.
in that particular in your students, right? Similarly, entrepreneurs are risk takers.
Absolutely.
So there has to be some risk-taking initiatives in each subject, right? It's project-based learning, integrated. So, right? I mean, you are educationist. You guys can come up with better solutions for that, right?
Yeah.
But these qualities have to be there through curriculum, different other activities within the school.
Right, so just to elaborate on what we are doing at Beaconhouse International College, we've come up with this program called the Big Core program. It imparts soft skills, to our students at zero cost. So we teach them design thinking, research methodology, business communication, marketing, emotional intelligence, etc., etc. So there are 6 components to it, and we at Beaconhouse International College are doing our very best to move away from that, that binary of either you're doing this or you're doing that.
Yeah.
And we're moving towards more of an interdisciplinary approach where even if you're a law student, you should know how to market yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to market your own, your own self or your own firm, business is going to be hard to come by.
That's true. So I think this is fantastic. The soft skill part, I want to come to that as well at some point, because soft skills are very important, right? For being an entrepreneur is what? Entrepreneur is a seller, right? At the end of the day, you're a salesman being an
Yeah, of
entrepreneur,
course.
right? And soft skills, your personality, how you speak, how you communicate, how you carry yourself, right? Resilience and other stuff that I mentioned earlier as well. These are very important in any student, right? And one of the reason I'm very thankful to my education institute was that they used to make us do presentations every day,
Right.
right? So every day, you do whatever assignment you want to, but every day you come in the class and you have to present, right? So at that point in time, we were like, oh, again, we have to present, and next class we have to present. But now I realize how important that was.
The value of it.
The value of it, because that's the most precious skill I believe I'm carrying
Right.
since then, right? And every
Confidence and,
and
presentation
ability to
skills.
communicate, ability to speak out, right? Ability to express myself, right? So that's probably the best. That's a very important because it's not only one skill, it's not only
Yeah.
one presentation skill. It's a set of skills
That you learn.
get due to that, right? So I think soft skills part, it's phenomenally important, especially in today's age where lots is changing every day, right? Every day you're seeing new technologies coming up. Adaptability has to be very quick. So yeah, I believe that's a very important thing.
No, you've touched on a very important issue over here, that the speed of change that we're experiencing within and
Yeah.
around us is so immense that it's almost difficult to keep up.
True.
And I was just in conversation with another gentleman. He has his own AI software house sort of thing, and he was telling me that the jobs of like maybe 20 years ago, or
Yeah.
maybe not even 20, maybe just 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now don't even exist.
don't.
So they will happen very quickly, and people will just have to adapt. And for that to happen, you need good soft skills, good interpersonal skills, good business understanding, good. So you're no longer just a business student or a law student or a medicine student anymore. It's more to do with being an all-rounder and a very good one at that. And that's the student of the future who is going to be successful. So we're currently working on that. So coming back towards entrepreneurship, so this morning I was having a conversation with one of our students, and she asked me, "Sir, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए to be a good entrepreneur? Capital कहाँ से लाना चाहिए? पाकिस्तान में उस तरह का वो we don't have that ecosystem of getting those loans very easily, you know, इस तरह का नहीं है. So what can students do who actually want to pursue this? How can National Incubation Centre help them?
See, of course, look, there is one way of we helping them formally, right? We have this like you take admissions, we take admissions for entrepreneurs every 6 months, right? So
Right.
they can apply to our program, and then there's this a proper 1 year program where we try to build some qualities, entrepreneurial qualities in them, but also we take them through different aspects, trying to do the business acumen, financial acumen, make them investor ready, etc., etc. So that's all there. But right now, I think the best way these young kids and this generation, they have a lot more access to information that we had at our time. B, they have better critical thinking abilities that we ever had
Absolutely.
in our time, right?
Without
Right?
any-
Because
yeah.
so they need to analyze the ground reality, the problems that are around in their in their area where, for example, this kid in Faisalabad, they need to figure what's the problem. For Faisalabad में mobility का बड़ा issue है, public transport नहीं है.
Right.
So what can you do to solve that? You don't have to launch another cream to do that. Cream is already there, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do that? Think about it, right? And I'm sure there are other crops के issues हैं, irrigation के issues हैं यहाँ पे. अब अगर if a kid is involved over here, only then he or she will be able to figure out. If you keep looking at what's being what other startup idea, what other app is being launched in let's say western part of the world, that might not even work over here, right?
Agreed.
So first thing, you need to figure the problems that are there in your area and how can you solve them. That's the first step. Once you've done that, then you go out there looking for resources. And believe you me, if you have the right idea, which has a potential, which has a viability, money will follow it.
The resources come.
Yeah, the resources will come. See, I mean, an investor who has money to spend, if you can convince someone that if there's a viability of the idea, why wouldn't he spend in that particular idea, right? Because he needs to make money as well. Right? So that's the secondary part. The first part is figuring out what to do.
I think even before that, I think you need to be rooted within your communities.
Exactly.
I feel that the current, and this is not a, by the way, this is not a criticism of the current generation at all. This is something that we face as well. But perhaps they're not as rooted in their communities as as their ancestors, as their previous generations. So where do you see how do you see the role of community projects and community service in helping students develop that kind of a mindset?
I think yes, there should be community service, but what kind of community? So a lot of time, what educational institutes, what they do is is that as a community service, they would ask students to go out there and have a cleanliness drive.
Yeah.
Right. Now, my humble suggestion over here is that they don't need to do that because they're already a labor force which is already there. So why don't they go out there, maybe teach a student, another maybe a student from an Urdu medium school, right, who doesn't have the same access, who's not as privileged,
Right.
As a student of Beaconhouse is, right? Go there and maybe teach him English, prepare him for the help him prepare for the future as well.
Right.
So once he'll go out there, maybe in a village or in a chuck nearby, right? Then they'll figure the problems.
Yeah.
What's the problem in maybe the government education sector for that matter? Unless and until he has interaction with that with those kids and with that school system, how would he figure out, right? So
I absolutely take your point, and I think the crux of it is that whatever we do need to have sustainability.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't just be a one-off thing where you give someone an XYZ amount of money and you think community service is done. You need to have a little bit more in mind in किसको sustainable कैसे करना है. The famous saying, teach a man how to fish. वो वाला idea है. So we've talked about social responsibility and community service projects. Um, in a world that's rapidly growing towards globalization and where every citizen feels like a global citizen, how do you see how can we catch up to that gap between that we have between the West and the developing countries, where maybe our students are not as well equipped. What can institutions and the industry do and come together, and can't we have a sort of a synergistic kind of an approach where we prepare our workforce for the future?
See, I think one thing that we need to consider over here is, of course, we are behind West, not only in education but different other fields as well, right?
Yeah.
So for us to catch up with them in terms of education, we have to catch up in certain other fields as well. So, for example, we can talk about other challenges in the society, right? The kind of conditioning that our kids get from their homes, and
The cultural
and the
biases that
cultural,
instill.
cultural
Yeah.
bias that, and then kind of conditioning. So for example, in our culture and social conditioning that we get, we are conditioned to avoid taking risks,
Right.
right? We are and
Fear of failure.
fear of
Essentially.
failure, right?
Even if
There's
you
no-
fail an exam, you're it's like the end of the
yeah,
world.
yeah, and on the other hand, in the West, the kids are encouraged to take risks, right? Or majority of, I mean, I'm sure there are, or even in West there are elements who don't like failure. I mean, no one likes failure, but who do encourage failures. But my point being that, so that's when unless and until you don't maybe close the gap between that, it's very hard for our kids to catch up with them in terms of kind of conditioning that they're getting. So it has to be a holistic change,
Right.
because see, right now, you're in Beaconhouse, you're using the same curriculum, Cambridge or Oxford or whatever. I don't know which curriculum you're using.
We're partners with Kent, Essex, Liverpool, John Moores, and University of London.
So see, your kids are getting the same sort of curriculum which a kid in, let's say, London is getting, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the difference has been. That difference has already been bridged. The gap has already been bridged, right? It's in the other side, right? Where we need to bridge that gap.
Absolutely, and I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head that we're so risk averse as a society as well, that even mature and seasoned businessmen don't often venture outside of that comfort zone that they've created.
That's
I
true.
mean, even if I'm a businessman and I'm doing well, I would much rather invest in those same safe businesses, real estate, hospitality. There's no mindset, or there's no incentive for me to invest in something that's absolutely groundbreaking. So how can one tell our kids and invest in our kids in a way that they do shift that mindset from their parents and from their previous generations, and they do become risk takers. And I'm not advocating everyone does that, because as Zeeshan pointed out, it's not feasible for everyone to do that. But the majority of the students should understand that we need to be more risk takers, more of risk takers. So any suggestions on your part, whether it's starting a small business while you're young, or maybe क्योंकि हमने बाहर देखें वो आपको लेमिनेट स्टैंड्स लगवाने के लिए कर देते हैं स्कूल में, आप लेमिनेट केक बेक सेल्स करवा देते हैं. So do you think that needs to be done more often with our students?
I think, see, the bake sales and all and everything, these are not certainly bad ideas,
Yeah.
right? But they're not enough. They're not enough, right? I mean, a bake sale where a lot of people are there to encourage kids and buy stuff, right? वो एक parents आया उन्होंने दूसरे के बच्चे से चीज ले ली, दूसरे parent, that's how it happens, right? To encourage them, right? So
Of course.
it does fulfill the purpose to a certain extent, but I think there more needs to be done. A couple of ideas that come to my mind would be, as far as risk taking is concerned, right? So have them do certain project-based assignments,
Right.
right? Which involve sort of risk taking. Now, that risk could be risk of money, that risk could be risk of, I don't know, grades or whatever, right? But there has to be that certain element, right? And failure to complete those assignments should not result in calling them out for,
Yeah.
for that matter, right? I mean, good, it should be comparative with other students, right? But I think so, and that should be in most of the subjects, right? If not all subjects.
Right.
So for example, probably maybe in Islam you can't have that. In Park studies maybe you can't have that, right? But in science you can definitely have it. In English and maths you can definitely have it. Similarly, the other thing that needs to be done is, because you mentioned about something groundbreaking is not coming up and all, right? So teach them the term value addition.
Right.
How can they do the value addition in whatever they're doing or whatever is being done around them, right? What's happening right now in Pakistan is that we are not adding value to what we're doing. Even if you look around Faisalabad, there's a lot of contract manufacturing going around. We haven't built a brand out of a global, even a regional brand out of Faisalabad. Even in IT sector, which we say is booming a lot, there's a lot of contract manufacturing. I am a software house owner. I'll get a project. I'll hire few developers. I'll get that done, and no product development. And even if I'm developing a project, I get a new assignment. I'll ask my developers to maybe start working on this assignment and maybe
Complete the deadline and
hold the product back, right? So a lot of so value addition isn't there. The stuff that we're selling for, let's say $10, right? If someone can add value to it, right, that person can make another $20-$30 out of that particular product, which we're selling for $10. So value addition, I think that focus needs to be there.
Absolutely. I think that that highlights the importance of incremental change as well. I mean, if you look at the curriculums that we have, the kind of science that we've developed, it didn't develop yesterday. People have built on the works of giants, standing on the shoulders of those giants. So you're absolutely right in saying that we need to have an understanding of how to add value to what we've done.
And another thing that I want to mention, I think is very important, right? Because since we're on this topic about risk taking and all, right, our social fabric is such that parents spend all of their earnings on their kids' education, A, and B, wedding ceremony, right?
Marriage.
So they save up. So they save up. They save up for that, right? And when the kid graduates and he gets married or she gets so a lot of onus is on that kid right now to take care of.
To recuperate that money, or to take care of the parents who spend their life savings.
Which is great if you look at it, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. Now compare that with the West, where parents save up for their retirement, right? And kids, when they get 17, 18, they move out with this good, wage rates out there, even for odd jobs, and they study on their own and pay back their educational loans and all, move out and all, right? Now that doesn't fit with our social fabric. Maybe this concept is very alien to many of the households over here, right? But that is risk taking.
Absolutely.
Now our kids, because when you have responsibilities in terms of family and all, right, so there goes your risk taking skills or ability, or maybe
Then you need to play it safe.
then you need to play it
Then you
safe,
need to
right? Then
make
you
sure-
can't fail.
Yeah.
Because then it's not only you who's failing. Your wife's failing, your kids failing, your parents are failing, everyone's around. So the margin of
It's a
error-
domino effect that goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a very valid point.
social. So we have to work around this. So we can't change the social fabric.
Right.
You and I can't. Even if the whole Beaconhouse school system wants to change it, they can't, right? So we have to work around this social fabric.
My friend was, we were just having a talk about that Ambani wedding that just took place.
Yeah.
So they did a calculation and they said that he spent like 0.1% of his wealth.
Yeah.
And over here, people actually take loans and exhaust 100 or 200 times of their the total net worth and then do a wedding.
So let me tell you very good example, right? So, when I was getting married, so this friend of mine who has this business of wedding clothes and all, right? So I was just sitting there having discussion with him. I was like, how you होता है ना पूछने भाई आज कारोबार कैसा जा रहा है? How's the
Right.
business going? So he's like, see, bro, our business it never gets affected. I'm like, why? Every other business gets affected. Why is that yours different? He's like, see, in our business, even if when someone has money, they are definitely going to spend on the wedding, right?
Right.
And lavishly, right? Even if someone doesn't have the money,
They would
he
still
or
spend
she will take the loan and spend money on the wedding, right? So we don't get affected at all.
So we're taking risks, but in a bad way.
yeah, in a bad.
So we're not investing
Yeah.
and we're not being entrepreneurs, but we're just doing that one ceremony
Yeah.
for an XYZ
Yeah, for
month.
us the risk is spending beyond the means, right?
Yeah.
Which is
not the way to go.
So I think maybe we are learning from the top, right?
Yeah.
Spending beyond the means.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not the way to go. And I guess we need to recalibrate our social
Yeah.
fabric. We need to recalibrate our priorities and see if we can invest in a business instead. So just before I let you go, Zeeshan, I'd like you to answer one last question. What's your advice to the entrepreneur of tomorrow? I mean, there is so much information. As you mentioned, in 10 years, Pakistan's ecosystem of incubators have grown. We have information readily available on the internet. We're being constantly bombarded by those reels and Facebook and those motivational talks. Can you leave our viewers with something that they need to know or about being a good entrepreneurship?
Oh, well, I think this could take very long, but try to keep it as short as possible. So, see, the good thing, they have a lot of access to information.
Right.
The bad thing, they have a lot of access to information, right?
Information, yeah.
So how to filter the right sort of information out of there, right? So that's also a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Especially for young minds. So they need to learn how to filter that information out, how to filter the positive information out, which can help them develop in there, and how to get the right skills. Of course, schools have a huge role to play in that, but a lot of people say that Chat GPT is coming, other portals are coming up, and so AI will take your job, this job, that job. AI is not going to take our jobs. The AI is the intern who's learning AI at this point in time is going to take our jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Because aapko, you'll need prompt engineers, and so there's a lot of new stuff coming up. New technologies are coming up. So keep yourself up to date with that, right? Keep yourself, even if maybe your school cannot offer you everything. You're already privileged enough. Let's say if you're studying in Beaconhouse, you're already privileged enough compared to, let's say, 95% of the society, right? So your school cannot offer you everything, but there are a lot of tools out there available. I mean, even if people criticize, let's say, TikTok a lot. Even if you're looking for the right content, TikTok has an amazing content.
Absolutely.
For you.
I was surprised to find that Harvard has a TikTok channel.
See,
I was very, very surprised. I did not, I did not, expect Harvard to be on TikTok, but they are.
yeah. So study is kind of, study maybe try to learn those algorithms where, you can maybe, so where you can get the best information out of all this content which is available in this world. And the next, and this is the generation of machine learning, AI, right? If you don't familiarize yourself with these technologies, then you'll be left behind. And so again, I would again stress on filtering. Learn how to filter out the right information for your skill development.
Right.
Read books. If you cannot develop this appetite to read books, maybe, read the content on social media, try to, and there's a lot of immersive content available right now as well. Maybe, I don't know, Beaconhouse can start it or not, but students can find themselves on internet. There's a lot of immersive content based on virtual reality, augmented reality, which is out there, right? Which they can find, be immersed into different global technologies, learn more about them. I mean, it's a cliché, but we talk a lot about world as a global village. It is true, right? I mean, if a kid is telling me that, maybe a kid in US or UK or Europe has access to this information, so I won't buy that. We all have internet, smartphones, laptops, everything, right? We can have access to the same information, right? And you want to study in Harvard, Cambridge, a lot of free courses of Harvard and MITs are
On
available right
Coursera,
now.
through Google, you can get a lot of those certificates.
So there's a lot of stuff there to be learned. It's just that you need to figure out how to find yourself maybe a right mentor. It could be your teacher, it could be your parents, it could be someone else, right? And there you go.
Thank you very much, Zeeshan. I must thank you for taking the time out today to sit with us, to discuss these important issues with us. And hopefully, this is not the last time we see Zeeshan over here. We will recall you whenever we have something of importance to discuss. But thank you for being here and for being such a gracious guest.
Thank you, Azm. Thank you for having me. I loved having this chat. And glad to be back here again and would love to come here more often.
Thank you.